listening to AchieveRadio.com. A new drummer for a new awakening.
Welcome, everybody, to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. This is Ginny Gunther, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be your host tonight, too, along with Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Phone lines are now open at 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027.
We'll be taking your phone calls from around the world and right here in the U.S. Everybody, we are live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Glad to have you along this Monday evening. Happy for all of our listeners here in the United States as well as those who are around the world. I literally have to walk into my kitchen to check the date. Yes, it is Monday, August 24th. No time in my world, so I always have to check in, but we want to put it into the archives for our recording. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We're going to bring Dr. Carolyn Dean in for 2 hours of great information, conversation, sharing, incredible questions coming from our audience and our listeners, and all kinds of great testimonials about how people are getting better and feeling better using the Remag and our other products, including Remite, Realign, RNA drops, and, of course, Renew Serum. Before I bring Dr. Dean in, I just want to let you know that she's not only a medical doctor, but also a naturopath, herbalist, acupuncturist, nutritionist, lecturer, consultant, author, and has been at the forefront of health issues for over 30 years, saying pretty much the same thing, though. Good Carolyn, she stayed right on track with the message. And the message is that magnesium deficiency can be detrimental to your health up to the point of being lethal. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight in part, as well as the good news that you don't have to suffer from magnesium deficiency any longer. Welcome to the show tonight, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Jenny. Great to be here, just finishing up the emails, listening, though, with at least one good ear to your wonderful introduction. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, as we usually do, and for our new listeners who are just joining us, I'll give you the rundown that what we usually do is kind of review some of the things that Carolyn shared in her blog. Then we're going to go to our topic this evening, and then we'll press on into taking calls and doing our mailbag and just generally having a fantastic time. So, Carolyn, let's look at some of the things that you wrote in your blogs, because I thought that thing about antibiotic resistance was really good.
Yes. Let me pull it up here. I think the major thing that people have to recognize with antibiotics is most of the time they're being used for viruses and not for bacteria, so that when someone, as a recent correspondent was telling me today, she got into a 7 months and counting of a neuropathy that she developed from an antibiotic. And she and her husband had written most of this, and when I asked her today, well, did you really need this antibiotic? Yeah, she'd had a cough and a slight fever, and she said, that's the most horrible part of the whole thing. She said, and this woman is in her mid-50s, she'd gone in just for her routine annual checkup blood tests, she wasn't even going to see the doctor, but she said she'd had a bit of a flu virus for a few days, but went for the blood anyway. Ended up getting a bit dizzy from all the blood that they took, she said. And they rushed the doctor in, and the doctor examined her for, 1.2 seconds and said, oh, here, take this antibiotic, and rushed out. And that began 7 months of her having incredible, horrible burning pain across her upper back that now affects her whole body. And I was just so moved by the story that I'm going to write an article on it, and I'm calling it "Drugs Get on Your Nerves," because one of the many side effects of drugs is how they affect the nervous system in their ability to cause magnesium deficiency. I spend a lot of time, and I know Jenny put out the blog today. Here it is: lethal consequence of magnesium deficiency. There's so many heart symptoms that go along with magnesium deficiency, and that seems to be the main one that, once people and doctors start recognizing magnesium deficiency, and they know that the heart has the highest amount of magnesium in the whole body, they start looking at the heart. And then when you look at drug side effects, a lot of medications have the side effect of heart symptoms. So there's a lot of focus on the heart. But over time, I've been getting a lot of reports about the nerve symptoms. And not a lot of people know much about the nervous system, so that when you have some sort of burning pain in your back that's causing you not to be able to sleep, et cetera, you go to your doctor. And the doctor starts telling you, well, you may have MS. And then that scares the pants right off you. And they start doing MRIs and lumbar punctures and all kinds of nerve tests. So it's not just frustrating. I mean, it's almost criminal what's going on, and the fact that after it was like 4 or 5 different antibiotics that this woman was given for almost a non-existent viral problem, and then at least one of these drugs was a fluoride drug, which can really be problematic because the fluoride can bind to magnesium. And I'm in a small little group of people now sharing emails about, well, does fluoride really, from these antibiotics, really unbind itself from the antibiotic and bind up to magnesium? And of course, nobody's ever done those experiments. And some people have said, well, it's bound so strongly, it probably doesn't break down. But that's the first thing the body does with any drug, is try to break it down and make it less toxic and get rid of it. And one email I got today said, well, actually, there's research showing that gut bacteria can take fluoroquinolone drugs with the fluoride and break them down and release the fluoride. So there is precedent there for the drug causing the side effect, but medicine is just not going to recognize this. The doctor that began all these prescriptions for this woman with the neuropathy, he won't even acknowledge that what he did may have harmed her. So it is a real concern. It is very problematic, and as Ginny wrote today in the blog, with the lethal consequences of magnesium deficiency are very widespread and very much ignored. I love the little quote in the blog today. And if you haven't signed up for the RNA Reset blog, just go to the RNA Reset website, and there'll be some pop-up or some logo there for you to click on and join that blog. But this student named Rachel says, I'm a college student working on a paper about magnesium and fibromyalgia. One of the fibromyalgia books I've been looking at connected the syndrome to ATP and surrounding cell processes. But I was astonished to find that although this process was described several times in the book, magnesium was never once mentioned. It was not only not proposed as a cause, but it was not mentioned at all. Now, if you've been listening to this radio show over the past couple of years, you've heard me say many times that adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which produces and transports energy in the body, is produced in a cycle, a biological cycle, with 8 steps, and 6 of those 8 steps require magnesium. So if you're talking about ATP, you have to be talking about magnesium. And I don't know how many times I've said that fibromyalgia is a combination of magnesium deficiency and yeast overgrowth. And fibromyalgia actually fits right into my harping here about neuropathy, because a lot of individuals with fibromyalgia have burning pain and neurological symptoms with their fibromyalgia. A lot of them are put on these various drugs to try to treat nerve pain. So nerves and muscles, if you have any symptoms in those 2 tissue systems, then you should be looking at magnesium. So that's my introduction, and I'll stand by it.
Very good. Well, I know the lady that you're talking about. Her husband has been in conversation through the email with me many times, and I agree, a tremendous amount of compassion. Here's this poor woman who just walks in and is blindsided with this incredible situation that she's left with. And, you know, medicine, like the whore it is, just walks off into the sunset with all the money in its pocket and leaves this woman just stranded. And now her husband, you know, so frantically trying to get her some relief, and she's just beside herself. So fortunately, she did land in the right place. And I'm sure that just, you know, and plus how nerve-wracking is it to have anything going on in your body, Carolyn, that you cannot stop. You know, it's just on its own program, the deterioration of whatever. Or, I mean, that's just the most vulnerable feeling to have.
Right, and one of the things that I end up having to say to individuals who are going through this is about the treatments they're doing and the supplements they're taking. Usually they're taking a dozen different supplements, and they all may have, you know, some place in relieving inflammation or pain or, you know, antioxidant effect, but most people aren't on the right amount of magnesium. And most doctors now, even in alternative medicine, or they're calling it more and more functional medicine, they put people on high-dose vitamin D right away. And if they give magnesium at all, it usually comes with calcium, because they haven't really looked at the whole overdosing of calcium situation that I talk about. So, yes, it's very problematic. But before we go on, I realized I jumped into the neuropathy out of the Halting Antibiotic Resistance blog, and didn't stop to say that someone did email me, and she said, well, what about people who have to be on antibiotics? You know, you can't tell them to get off them. And so I right away went to the blog that's on the website, put a caveat or, you know, a sidebar, and I said, of course, there are times when you need an antibiotic, and they are there for those times. And I gave my little story. On the first rotation of my internship in the ER, I was working with strep throat and refused to call in sick. The nurses were so alarmed that they asked one of the attending physicians to give me a prescription and send me home. And the antibiotic worked beautifully. So for people with infected diverticulitis, abscesses, Lyme disease, endocarditis, these and many more conditions may require daily life-saving antibiotics for them. However, if you have to take one or more courses of antibiotics, be sure and balance your intestinal flora with a good probiotic. And my choice is Prescript Assist, and that's a soil-based antibiotic. And I just finished by saying this article is to warn people to research antibiotics, try and avoid the fluoroquinolones, the fluoride antibiotics. You just go to Wiki, type in the name of the antibiotic, the picture will come, and the F will let you know that there's a fluoride involved. And then I say, and look for alternatives and take your probiotic. So it's hard to say everything in a blog, and sometimes I forget some real obvious things. So I'm happy to modify what I say to give a balanced view. And I do appreciate when people remind me that I haven't covered the waterfront, and I do intend to do that. Actually, someone just emailed Ginny that. About bone health, I mentioned magnesium, but I didn't mention collagen. Now, admittedly, my book is about magnesium. It's about minerals, and I wasn't writing about collagen, but in the next edition of my Magnesium Miracle book, I'll be sure to put that in. So that was good, helpful reminder. And for the person to say that I'm misleading folks because I haven't put that in, I think that's a little bit harsh. What happens is people have their specialties, and they focus on their specialty. And if they don't see their specialty in what I say, they feel slighted or they think I'm not covering enough. But as Bob often says, Ginny, I'm one of the few doctors who covers 99% of what's going on out there. And I think what made me really annoyed when I was writing the blog about primary care doctors, how they just don't exist anymore. When I was a primary care doctor, or we called it general practitioner or family practitioner, I did everything. I did everything. I did not act as a referral to a specialist. If someone needed to have, something cut apart or some x-ray or some internal exam, then I would send them on, but I did everything else. And it made it thrilling and exciting to be a family practitioner. And now family doctors, they must be bored out of their minds, besides the fact that they only have 4 to 7 minutes to spend with the patient. So, that's where everything begins to fall apart, is we're trying to turn your body into a specialized system where you can only have your heart looked at by a heart doctor and your left foot looked at by a left foot doctor. And we're really losing the ability of any one doctor to kind of have an overview of everything, every branch of medicine, and then be able to give you a good representation of what you should do or how you should proceed. When doctors, even at the primary care level, become specialists, then the patients lose out. Hello? And Ginny, there she is.
Carolyn, that's why Ian's right to call you the great physician. You have a repository. You're now an ancient elder. You have all this past that has been wiped out by the virtual society and the chip body. You're the repository of all this stuff. And the most comprehensive, when you did it, and you still have it, that's why Ian came to you. You're the great physician. There's no refuting that.
Thank you, Bob.
No, thanks. You.
Well, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I was just going to say I thought it was interesting in this gentleman's email that he sent you that he went on about collagen and then C and lysine and proline and glycine and copper and iron and silicon and all these other things on matrix, GLA, protein, and all these other proteins, when one of the things that is essential for protein metabolism is magnesium. So you're absolutely right to say that you just, to go into that's like saying what's required for a healthy heart. Magnesium is essential, but it's not exclusively all that's required. And, like you said, you're writing about magnesium. I mean, the primary thing about magnesium and calcium is that people think it's kind of correcting the idea that people just need calcium for bone. And you're adding, no, magnesium is important too. So, I don't know, sometimes I'm glad you respond much more graciously, because I look at it and I'm like, they're missing the point.
I know, and I'm well aware of the dozens of things that are necessary for bone formation, but I've read articles like that, and it's just too confusing. It's like overkill for people, and yes, it's kind of like baby steps. Well, you think it's all about calcium? Well, what about trying magnesium? And then, we can go on to others. And I know I talk about rheumite and the many minerals in there that are necessary for bones as well. And certainly in our Realign, we have our amino acids, and the RNA drops are going to help as well. But it's like every sidebar I give would be just, touting how we're dealing with it. So, yeah, we just go step by step. But it's just, I don't mean to put this individual down, but just to say we can't be so specialized that everything we do we have to put in 24 caveats. It's like I complain about that Gary Null guy when he'd get on his radio shows and someone would have a question about a certain condition. You could just see the ego dripping off him as he mentioned the top 20 supplements that he'd use for this condition, and you'd see the people just dropping away. It's like 20. I mean, I can't even afford 2 things, and he's telling me to do 20 things. And that's where, I kind of learned some lessons over the years that people they're only able to take a handful of things. And that's what we're doing here, is just giving you a handful of things that work. And the whole business about specializing in medicine, I mean, I know patients used to say to me, oh, yeah, I'm going to this great specialist. They say he's the best. Every specialist I've ever heard recommended, the family doctor would say, oh, he's the best. And, that's just not possible. So it's like this mystique about specialists, as if they're going to cure you. All they've got is their tools are more drugs, more tests, and sometimes more surgery. So we should be wary of specialists and try to find individuals such as myself that put the whole picture together. So there you go.
Very good, yes. Excellent response. Very good, very good. All right, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio, half hour through in our 2-hour presentation this evening. We're happy to have you along, those who are listening. Oh, my gosh, so many places. Apps and YouTube and radio channels and through the computer and on their phones. And it seems like sometimes the whole planet is tuned into what we're doing here, and then it seems like other days nobody's tuned in at all. But wherever you are, we're happy to have you along. And I want to just give a few ground rules. If you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean this evening, as is our standing invitation to talk directly with her, you would want to call 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027, and we will put you on the phone with Dr. Dean. Once you get on the call, you have to hit the pound sign to get you into the call, and then you hit star 5. Star 5 on your keypad will raise your hand and let me know you have a question or a comment. And then if you are listening through the computer and you'd like to text us a question using the in-station communication tool we have here, you just go to Studio A, type in your question on the InQuick messaging system. I'll get it and read it online like our good friend Marianne did. I'm going to read her question, and then we'll look for phone calls and go on. And I think we probably have an overflowing mailbag, too, tonight. Right, Carolyn?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so Marianne, no location. This is what she writes in. Last week, Dr. Carolyn spoke about her patient that is very sensitive and detoxes from almost anything. So she adds 1 drop a day to reach the optimal dose slowly. I'm one of those sensitive people that detoxes and know I need to go slow with the complement formulas. I did 1 product at a time slowly just by dipping the tip of my finger in Remag with water, but still experienced bad symptoms, the same with Remite. In your experience with such sensitive patients, what is the advice you give on how to take all the formulas? And how do you know when it's too much detox symptoms versus what symptom is normal? How long should they last? I do the sea salt water. I've read Remag and Remite books and articles. When magnesium makes me worse.
Poor girl. I mean, that's such a drag. But what it would be is just the 1 drop in a liter of water and sip it through the day. And I don't know if she's tried that. 1 drop has 2.5 milligrams. It will go into the cells and it will start detoxing. That's the experience we have. It will start revving up the 700, 800 enzyme system. So there's a lot that could be moving. And in terms of what to put up with, I don't like people to put up with any shift in feeling worse when they do the products because, I mean, that is certainly not the point. So it would be the 1 drop in a liter of water. If that's too much, put in 2 liters of salted water and go like that. And I certainly have had a handful of people who've had to do this, and I've said it before that they've thought I was crazy because, how can 1 drop do that much of the detox? But see, there's a sensitivity level. There's just the body waking up and you interpreting it as being negative, and maybe it's not so negative, but it's a shift or change. I mean, the fact that it's causing kind of a reverberation like that makes you know that it's powerful and something is happening. And, these are just minerals. They're like eating food, but in our world now, people have become allergic or could become allergic to just about anything. So it's just a matter of going even slower and even more dilute, and using your own intuition and really saying to yourself, okay, I'm feeling this shift, am I okay with it? Can I just lie down and rest and let it pass? Because when you've had a lot of reactions to things, sometimes as soon as you feel a shift, your anxiety level goes up, your heart starts pounding, your adrenals start forcing out some adrenaline, and you panic a little. So it's somehow getting all that under control. Certainly the sea salt will help. The sodium is very supportive of your adrenal gland. So it sounds like it's just going to take time, Marianne. Was it Marianne who had sent that message?
Yeah. Yep. Marianne.
Okay. Yeah, but keep us posted. We really want to follow you and make sure you're doing okay with all this.
Very good. Thank you. All right, let's go to some phone calls, Carolyn. Let's go to area code 704, the great state of North Carolina. Our good friend, I believe, is on the line. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. Please state your name and then your question or comment this evening. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Dr. Dean. It's Roseanne. How is everybody?
Oh, thanks, Roseanne. We're good.
Can you hear me okay? I have you on speaker.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I just want to say a few things. I'll try to say it in the shortest amount of time. First, I just want to give you a testimonial. As you guys know, I think the last time we spoke months ago, I was dealing with some popping in my knees. and you and Ian had suggested that I take in more magnesium. And since then, I've been running and walking about 2.5 miles every day without no more popping, and that's been going on probably since the last time we spoke, which has been months ago. So I will tell you, it's just been phenomenal. I share that with so many friends who are runners and walkers, and because, if they have knee problems, I just tell them, I go, it's unbelievable, because I really thought that I would never been able to run again, and you just told me to take in more magnesium. And, of course, I take the Relight. And so literally I don't always run all the way. I run walk, but still I was not able to do that. And then when I increased
Roseanne, let's go into it just a little. How much were you taking of the Remag when, you were experiencing the popping?
It was daily, but I'm sure that I missed some days. So I think I was just testing things out. I was probably taking about 3 drops under my tongue a day.
Are you talking about Remag or RNA drops? What are we talking about here?
Remag.
You were only taking 3 drops?
That was before, until we changed everything. And then sometimes I would take that twice a day. And then
but drops, you mean drops, not teaspoons, not bottle tops?
Yeah, now this is a long time ago. Remember when we still had the dropper? And then
do you mean droppers? Squirt, squirt, squirt?
Yes.
Okay, 3 droppers. Okay. So that could have been about 3/4 of a teaspoon, because 1 dropper full is a 1/4 teaspoon. So I would, if you were doing that once or twice a day, but irregularly, I would have told you that if you have symptoms that look a bit magnesium deficient, you have to go therapeutic, which is at least 2 teaspoons a day, and it's best to put it in water and sip it through the day. And then the Remite is 1.5 teaspoons. So is that what you recall?
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing since that last conversation months ago, and so that has taken away the popping of my knee. It absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
And we come across this, on customer service and me and my emails, where people will say, "Well, I'm taking the Remag and it's not working," and they may be going by the way we put it on the label was that 1/2 teaspoon or 2 squirts twice a day is maintenance. And partly that is so that on the Remag label, the daily amount is less than the RDA, because when they start coming down on minerals and nutrients, when the FDA finally is able to take minerals and nutrients off the shelves and put them on doctor's prescription, they'll start with the nutrients that have more than the RDA. So partly I'm protecting the product by putting the 1/2 teaspoon twice a day, but that is 300 milligrams, and it's the 1/2 teaspoon twice a day, and it's well absorbed. But you've had injuries. I mean, runners are constantly creating a bit of inflammation in their knees anyway. So, you graduated into the place where you needed the therapeutic amount. And like you say, boom, that worked. So that is a very important testimonial for us to hear, Roseanne. So thank you for that.
Well, one more thing, because I think this will highlight the whole story. As you well know, in 2013, for a year and a half after my car accident, I was hiking 1,384 feet, sometimes twice a day at Stone Mountain, Georgia, right? And when I came back July 2013, now I have not climbed anything like that at all. I've been only running and walking, doing my other type of, hand weights and yoga. So this Saturday, I went on a hiking trip with a group of hikers, and we are the largest hiking group in North Carolina. There's very serious hikers that hike a lot of high altitude. So we hiked Mount Mitchell, which is 6,684 feet, but we went 12 strenuous miles, and we went uphill 3.5 hours, completely straight up to the tip of the mountain. And it was such tough terrain. It was boulders climbing up over. I have not climbed in a year and a half. And then we came back down another 3.5 hours. Some folks, twisted their ankles and so forth. And I've been loading up on my magnesium. Of course, I take my RNA and my Remite and in water with the salt. And I will tell you, it was not easy, but in regards to me not hiking for over a year and then just going straight into this, I felt a little bit of tightness. But yesterday, that was on Saturday. So on Sunday, of course my quads are feeling it and so forth. But really, I was fine. You would have thought that I've been hiking for the longest time.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably showed up the young'uns. But I have to get something clear, Roseanne. You had the car accident, and then you couldn't do your hiking, your mountain hiking. Was that back in 2013 you had the car accident?
I had that December 1st, 2012, and then I went to Georgia in January. I started hiking about April. And for the next year and a half, I was hiking almost every day, like twice a day.
And why did you stop hiking? Just because you moved again?
Yes, then I moved from Georgia back to North Carolina, and we don't have anything really close unless I went to the mountains 2 hours away.
And then somehow over time you were taking less magnesium and didn't really notice that might be causing your knee popping.
Yes, exactly. I really wasn't drinking the water with the salt in it. So after we had that talk with you and you were pretty much really suggesting, and so I really took it seriously to start drinking the water with the salt, the magnesium, the Remite. It just changed everything. I'm really, truly, I'm amazed. I tell people all the time. They're very interested. Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. Well, as I said, that's really important because people will get complacent about how they feel, and then they gradually just, not even consciously can be cutting back on things, and then something will hit them, or they'll come up against me, and I'll just say, okay, well, are you drinking your sea salt water? How much are you taking? And it's much better to take more magnesium than you need than to take less magnesium. So that's great, Roseanne. Anything else?
No. Let's see. I was sharing with the gentleman a lot about the magnesium. He has a son. He's going to call you. Earlier on this program, you were talking, was it neuropathy? Is that what
correct? Yeah.
It's so funny the subject's up because this gentleman is telling me about his son who is a great athlete, and now they're diagnosing him with neuropathy, and he has all this pain in his feet. So I started talking. He said he's gone to every single doctor, and they just don't know what to do. So I brought up, I'm like, I think that you need to talk to this Dr. Dean, obviously, and about the magnesium. So he's going to get on one of your programs, but it's just so interesting that you're talking about this subject. And I spoke to this gentleman because his son is really suffering.
Well, listen to this testimonial, Roseanne and Ginny and everybody else. A client of mine from Australia wrote and said, I just wanted to tell you that a friend of mine, age 42, female, was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It's the name of the 3 doctors that diagnosed this condition, Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It's a hereditary disease. She was told that it was all downhill from here and that she would keep losing feeling in her limbs and soon not be able to walk, and that she should just go out and enjoy her life. And my client said, can you imagine thankfully, she had the good sense to talk to me, my client, and we got her on Relight. Now it's Remag, Blue Ice Royal immediately, and she's happy to report that she's walking properly again. She feels amazing, and all her symptoms are gone. She says she feels like all her body parts are now connected. So this is a hereditary neurological disease. If you look it up, Charcot, Charcot, Marie Tooth, is one of the most common inherited neurological disorders, affecting 1 in 2,500 people in the U.S. It affects both motor and sensory nerves, so that means it'll affect your speaking, walking, breathing, and swallowing, and also give you different types of pain, ranging from mild to severe. And this woman, just on the Remag and the Remite, experienced a reversal of those symptoms. So, yeah, you talk about neuropathy. You've got to start talking about magnesium and the other minerals. So thank you for giving me an opening to talk about that, and I'm going to let you go now because I know you'll come back when you have your next amazing testimonial.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Roseanne. Bye-bye.
Awesome, very good. Thank you, Roseanne. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at Achieve Radio. Again, 602-666-6027. The phone lines are open. Carolyn, I know, too, I just have to tell you quickly about Deborah West, who hasn't called into the show for a while, but she has turned into the biggest tennis maven on the planet. She played 3 hours of tennis the other day. 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
And she's just flagging down the Remag and swatting that ball all over North Carolina, just having a blast. She's in great shape. She's happy as a clam. And but this is what the products do for people, is it gives them this incredible energy, power, resilience, resistance, and they can just go out and really live their life in the most amazing way. So I think she's in the finals right now, which is kind of what happened. Oh, yeah. No, she's gotten, she's hired a coach. She's in it now. Like, she's just not getting out on tennis court. She's doing, like, semi-pro level tennis now. She's really actually got quite awesome. Yeah.
Right.
So, this is what's happening with people who are on the formulas. They get rid of their little aches and pains and thingy things, and then the next thing you know, they're out there hiking these mountains and doing all these incredible tennis things and having, great success with their lives and their bodies and great peace of mind, too, in their health.
Yeah, and it's all the formulas, like Roseanne said. She's on her RNA drops. I'm sure she's on her Realign. I know Deb takes her Realign, especially if she has a little margarita. She'll take a couple of Realigns.
That's right.
I know.
Oh, yeah,
that.
she just got Rebob this weekend. Oh, yeah, she's in all the products and has been for a couple of years now, but this is what, people have to look forward to. And, we're all in the same kind of stance of timing in our eternity. We're just little babes in the woods and in relationship to eternity. But, this is also what happened to Bo Morrison. I was reviewing that guy's email about what the bones need, and it talked about lysine. Well, that is what is in the RNA drops is lysine. And we have a trimethylated lysine in the RNA drops, and that's what happened, remember, with Deb Morse when she went and had her hip looked at. She thought she was going to have pins, and the surgeon said, no, you've got the bones of a 21-year-old. They were pure white bones, and she's in her 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, from the lysine and the drops and the other formulas. So this is the winning combination, and if you're not feeling it today, if you're feeling sensitive, or if you're having a few little hiccups in your body, do not be deterred, because eventually you'll be out swatting tennis balls and running up huge mountains like, Deb and Roseanne do.
Fabulous. Okay, excellent. Onward and upward.
All right, let's go. Yep. Oh, another caller from North Carolina. Boy, the North Carolinians seem to be on it tonight, eh? Let's go to area code 919. 919, you're talking with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, Dr. Dean, it's Roman again. I know I call you a lot.
Oh, I enjoy hearing from you. Don't give it another thought. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I've got some new things that I wanted to tell you about, and they're all good. One is before I met you or I read your books, I was on. I don't. You probably don't remember, but I told you I was on a low carbohydrate diet, which was depleting my magnesium more.
Yeah.
But that was the only way that I could control my weight. I lost quite a bit of weight doing that. Well, after I started doing the Remag, and I've been doing the RNA drops now for almost 3 weeks, and I'm on all the stuff, Realign and the Remite. Well, my weight is going. Before I started low carb, I was at 245, and I'm about 6'3". Then when I started doing Remag, I lost some weight. Then when I added all the complement formulas, now my weight is down to 189 or 190. And the thing is I'm eating carbohydrates now. I'm eating potatoes, organic, but I'm eating corn, organic corn, and vegetables. I don't do any bread. If I do any kind of bread, it's gluten-free, and I enjoy a gluten-free cookie every now and then. But I drink the bottled water, because of the AFib. But I would stay away from the fluoride. I wanted to report that, and also the RNA drops. I used to feel my heart pounding in my chest. Or I felt it that has predominantly gone. I feel like I did when I was a youngster. I've had arrhythmia my whole life after I was 18, but now I don't feel my heart beating as a matter of fact. I've quit checking my pulse all the time. You remember when I called you last week? I had that episode in the car.
Yes.
It seems like I'll back step as I get better. I might have a little back step, and then I go leaps ahead that I get much, much better. So I think it's all part of the healing process of how your body is rewiring or whatever. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't.
Well, you settle on your body goes through kind of a detox and a shift, but then you settle back at a higher level of wellness because you've cleaned out that particular area, either on a physical level or even an emotional level. Because look at the crap you've had to put up with all your life that you have to work through.
Yes, ma'am. I really, really do feel a lot better. I feel much better this week calling you than I did. I think I was doing a detox or something when I had that bad arrhythmia in the car for 10 seconds, and it scared the life out of me. But I'm continuing with the formulas, and life just gets better and better, and my chest. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is when I first started Remag and I was doing the sea salt, this is another thing I really wanted to mention to you. When I did sea salt, it would cause me to have tachycardia, and I would get a real warm feeling in my body, like hot flashes. Now, I think that's because the other minerals in my body were really, really low, and I was activating stuff that needed to be activated. I really believe that now I can make me some popcorn at night, and I put my butter, and I put my sea salt, and I drink my sea salt water all day. The hot flashes from that and the tachycardia are practically gone. Like I think I've renourished a lot of things in my body that I was just not getting. And I've been
that's
really
great,
excited
Roman.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely, because, someone who inquicked Mary Ann, she was worried that even a drop of Remag was too much, but she'd gotten over the any sea salt problems. So, like the way you said that, the other minerals were low, and the sea salt began activating, those minerals. So it's great to recognize these things, and I appreciate you calling in and talking about it, because that's going to help other people. And I wrote about in the AFib book about CB's experience, and she would do this, like you said, Roman, she'd have a bit of a back step, and then she'd feel even better after going through that. And unfortunately, some people, when they have that backstep or backslide, they'll end up in the emergency department on another medication and not realize that their body's just going through a shift.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I get the other thing, Dr. Dean, is I get more confident as every couple of weeks get by, because I'm beginning to feel, I go through these back steps, and then when I come out of it, I feel so much better. And I'm able to do more and more as time is going by. So I definitely am starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I am doing, so much better. But once again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to call in and share. And I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'll
That's
update
great.
you as new things happen. But
right.
But the weight.
Yeah, and it's very good, very helpful.
I couldn't believe.
Yeah. Well, let me say this to you. I'll leave you with this final remark. You're not just seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You are in the light. I want you to see yourself in the light, because you're right there, Roman, and I want you to see yourself there, okay?
Okay, I got you. And I appreciate you letting me call, and I'll listen to the program and see what other folks have to say tonight. But thank you so much, Dr. Dean.
You're welcome, Roman. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Very good. Thank you, Roman. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Carolyn, that was so sweet. You're in the light, and he is. Isn't that great?
Oh, totally. He totally is. I mean, we've been watching and hearing from Roman. You probably have more interaction with him at customer service, but every week it's a new Roman. It's just fabulous. It's fabulous.
Very, very sweet. Very cool. Phone lines are open, everybody. We've got just a few minutes to the top of the hour, 602-666-6027, but you'll want to get on board for next segment when we'll come back with more phone calls and also our mailbag and a few more quick messages like the one came in from Alan in San Angelo, Texas, Carolyn. He says, Dr. Dean, do you recommend eating for your blood type? Thanks, Alan.
Absolutely. I talk about it all the time, and I'm not fanatic about it. It's just a generalization, and I learned about it when I was in naturopathic training, because Diadamo Sr. was a naturopath up in Toronto, for Pete's sake. So I was practicing a bit of macrobiotic eating, doing like a lot of people do, trying vegetarianism. And the more I did macrobiotic, the sicker I felt within a short period of time. So I'm an O blood group. I need that animal protein. I find that as a generalization, it makes some sense, but certainly don't be fanatic. It ends up that, most people can be on a similar type of diet, no gluten foods, low sugars, lots of vegetables, raw and steamed, some animal protein. I need more than others. If you're eating fish, try to make it wild salmon or low mercury fish. So yeah, I'm a real student of the blood type diet.
Yes, excellent. You do talk about it all the time. And what was the name of the author?
D'Adamo, D'_Adamo. And the son, he's a naturopath as well. He's got a big website and, promotes all kinds of things. But I just sort of take the general information because, if you go into it in detail, you'll find him saying, well, this person's an A blood type. A's are supposed to be more vegetarian. A blood type with O tendencies, which means they need animal protein. And, it breaks down after a certain point. But as a generalization, I find it helpful that for people with illnesses, I try to get them to follow a bit more their blood type diet. When I did a survey at my local health club decades ago, I found that if a person felt healthy, they didn't really follow their blood type. They just ate anything they could or would. And you'll find that, young people, if they're healthy, they can eat all kinds of crap. It's when they stop exercising, sit down at a sedentary job that their diet starts attacking them or being problematic. My friend Roby Mitchell, you can go to Roby's website. I think it's still drfitt.com, drfit.com. Roby's an ex-Marine, and he found that as long as he was a Marine doing all the training, he could eat anything he wanted. But as soon as he stopped all that training, he just developed this big pot belly. He looked pregnant, and that's when he kind of discovered natural medicine.
Yes, his website's still active, and he's busy at it, doing his thing. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, this is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We're going to take a quick station break, and then we're going to be back next hour with more great information and phone calls and wonderful exchanges and comedy relief and all the other things we do here every single Monday night. So we'll be right back, everybody. Get a glass of water, Carolyn, and some Remag, and we'll be back.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
It's what to expect when you were expecting. You gave intention of what you wanted, and then it found you. It was there all along, but you had to allow it to flow to you. You got busy with your work, and it still got worked out. Otherwise, you could have timed for a week or 2 weeks and still tried to force it, and instead, you relaxed and allowed it to show up, and so therefore it did. And money flows freely and easy to you, then it does, and then it's kind of going on, and you have all these processes, and it gets going really fast, so much fun. Because then you come right back to the place, and you get, wow, this is great, this is great. So now, which level of bliss was the bliss that I was talking about? Is this the best bliss, or the next bliss, or the last bliss? No, it's just bliss. Okay, so we'll go with bliss, and bliss is just great, and it's so much fun, because then we get back to bliss, and it's like, this is really all about bliss. Exactly. And that I get what I want, when I want it, as I want it. And that I can have intention, and everything in my world will work out and show up just for me, for no better reason than I desire it.
You're listening to AchieveRadio.com. A new drummer for a new awakening.
We return now live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with your host, Ginny Gunther, here on AchieveRadio.com. Skype us at ar.call.in. That's ar.call.in.
Welcome back, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Carolyn, before we press into our next hour, I just wanted to ask you, tell us about some of the summits and public presentations you're going to be doing.
Yikes. I have no idea when they're all happening, but these crazy summiters, now they're all into video. So I have to get out of my bathing suit. I have to wash my hair. I have to put on a little bit of makeup. It's just so distressing. But the last one I did, the Body Black Belt Summit with Travis Richardson, I set myself up in front of my upstairs balcony window so that people can see the palm trees in the back. And I think I had a lamp near my face so at least you could see the outline of my face. So it just shows a bit of my face, but mostly the scenery in the background. So I like that one. So I'll go with that. But I don't know anything more about them. I'm doing 4. I did put in the just a mention of the most recent one in my blog. At the bottom of the blog, I'll mention the summits, but I don't even know the dates for it. So just hang in there. There's 4 coming up.
Okay, very good. Good to know. Yes, I was going through the we have our own YouTube channel, everybody, RNA Reset, and I was going through some of the videos, updating some of the headers and things. Anyway, and I ran across your interview with Janet Love, which was outstanding. Do you remember doing that show?
No.
Okay, well, It was last year, but it was very, very good, so I posted it on our Facebook page, but the thing that you ended up starting out talking about was the soil depletion and why you've just got to get it out of your head that you're going to be able to get an adequate amount of minerals in the food. And I think this is what people are still hoping for, in part, that their vegan, organic, or whatever diets are providing them with the right amount of mineral supplementation. Can you say a little bit about that?
Well, yes, I guess as time does go on, even though we don't believe in time, we're seeing more and more how people, like Roman will say, or Roseanne says, as soon as I increased my sea salt, began to take more Remag, it really made a huge difference. Yeah, people are starving for minerals. And these folks are all eating good diets. I mean, they tell us they're eating good diets, and they're not feeling healthy like we should be feeling. So the soil does not have the minerals, and that's where we have to take them as supplements, or in this case as complements, because when you're taking any minerals outside the Remag Remite, you're only getting a 4 to maybe maximum 20% absorption. So you're really not saturating your body with the minerals you require. And I guess as time goes on, I'm getting more and more adamant about that and making dramatic statements like Bob does, that if you're not taking your Remag in sufficient quantities, then there's something wrong with you, because you should realize that what should you realize? You should realize that a little bit is helping, so not necessarily a lot is going to be your saving grace, but actually when I'm saying that, I'm thinking of Remag. I'm often saying the only mineral that you can take a lot of and almost overdose on is Remag, magnesium, because if your body gets too much, you'll just urinate it out, or it will finally give you loose bowel movements. So you're never going to overdose on it. Even though, I see in my emails here, I have someone who came across some doctor's forum where a doctor was saying something about magnesium citrate. The question on this forum called Health Tap, HEALTHTAP, a member asked, how often can you take magnesium citrate safely? And some doctor who claims he's a nephrologist and dialysis expert says it depends on the kidneys. And this is what he says about magnesium citrate. Now, magnesium citrate you can say the most important magnesium citrate out there is Natural Calm. It's quite a famous magnesium. Our magnesium is magnesium chloride, and it may be a boutique magnesium for people who need it because they get the laxative effect with other magnesiums, but it soon becomes the magnesium of choice for people who begin taking it. So anyway, he's talking about magnesium citrate. He's saying depends on the kidneys. And he says magnesium citrate has two benefits. It treats constipation, and it prevents kidney stone formation. And that's it. That's what he says. This is what a learned doctor with, 12 years of medical training knows about magnesium. It treats constipation. So it's a laxative, and at least, he says, it prevents kidney stone formation. But if you take mag citrate chronically, you need to check with your doctor who knows nothing about magnesium, because a buildup of magnesium in the blood could cause heart rhythm abnormality that is occasionally fatal. I mean, where did they get this bullshit? Pardon my French. I mean, how on earth can a doctor with a valid medical license, his license should have been pulled. How can they say if you take it chronically, it doesn't build up. It's a water-soluble mineral that you have to take every day. And then he says kidney weakness decreases magnesium excretion and builds it up in the blood. And this person who emailed me this, crap said, why do MDs fight this magnesium thing? The doctor who put 3 stents in my arteries a couple years ago said I don't need to take any magnesium. It's very confusing. It's more than confusing. It's almost criminal where doctors can say such things. I rest my case of the stupidity of allopathic medicine.
Allopathic medicine, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what's happening out there, and we hear the stories all the time and what people are experiencing. So agreed 100%. I think he should have his thing pulled or something. But who's going to turn in a doctor for not being able to talk properly about nutrition? I mean, they hand them off to the nutritionist right at the hospital. They're trying to talk about food. I mean, we saw that with both of Greg's family members were trying to talk about food and nutrition and what they're eating, and they're like, oh, no, that's not my job here. You'll see the girl with the nutrition thing will come around. They don't even want to consider it.
No.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Then, as we just mentioned, there really aren't nutrients in the food anymore. I mean, Bob and I are totally blessed here in Maui. We found a farmer who delivers to us who grows biodynamically organic food. So we'll get any nutrient we can from that, but still, even though I eat all the greens and everything, I still need my Remite, Reline, and RNA drops.
That's right, because we can actually test the formulas and prove that the content is in there. And I know people get up in arms when they think about the our whole, the face of the earth. I mean, soil is 50% of our biosphere or whatever, and because of all this farming and everything that's going on with food production, it's just being depleted, not only of the minerals and things, Carolyn, but it's also the healthy bacteria that people need, the microbes for the gut. I mean, it's just, that's why we have to have this incredible intervention so that we can, enjoy our food, and the things that our food doesn't provide for us, or we can provide for ourselves,
Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you brought up the microbes. It's true. I talk about that, but not enough. And the probiotic that I recommend, the soil-based bacteria. That's why, because the soil is so depleted. We're not getting soil-based bacteria, and I consider the lactobacillus and bifido bacteria that you see on most probiotics. You look up a probiotic and look at the label. Instead of looking at 50 billion colonies, look to see whether it's lacto and bifido. 90% of them will be lacto and bifido. They're the weakest probiotics, and the reason why they have to go to 50 billion, whereas when they started out it was like 500,000 or it was a million, and now they have to do billions because they're not working. I mean, it's a dead giveaway. A dead giveaway that these things are dead, they're not working. They have to give them soon it'll be trillion. Whereas instead you go from the weak probiotics, lacto-bifido, over to the soil-based probiotics. And the one I recommend is Prescript Assist, and the website for it is on my resources page. I think it's a miraculous probiotic.
Right. Yeah, it's true because of what happens with the microbe, the soil microbe, all the organic matter, all the mineral composition, all the fertilization practice, how it affects the genetics of the plants and everything. And this is the depths of the wisdom. We're not dealing with superficial products or content here. We're talking about a very holistic, comprehensive way to work within the environment that we're currently in and not have to be deficient because of it. I mean, it's incredible wisdom that we have here that we're able to share with people. So, yes, Jerry right in my opinion, and the only way to get nutrition from food is to have your own garden and add proper minerals. But we're talking about just that's a good thing to do, Jerry, and absolutely if you've got biodynamic gardening or other things to also make sure that the composition of the bacteria in the soil is great. But, we've got to at least consider that there might be things that we're missing, and we do have to complete our whole program. Yeah, very good. Let's see. Now, it says here a couple things on our in quick messaging board. I'm just going to read those to Carolyn. One was Anna saying, isn't there a way to remineralize the soil to get it the way it used to be because it was full of minerals and nutrients, because that's optimal in the way we used to eat for thousands of years. So I think we kind of talked about that. But what was the website that you used to share, Carolyn, about that?
Yeah, it's called remineralize.org. And actually our good friends at Natural Vitality, the Natural Calm Producer, they support that organization probably to a great extent, and they teach people about remineralization, but it's just a drop in the bucket. It really is. If it costs a little more than ordinary fertilizers, most farmers aren't going to be able to afford it or not bother with it. It's incredible how little soil intervention even organic farmers do. But yes, join remineralize.org and do your part to try to spread the word. That's all you can do.
Actually, very good. Excellent. Bill in South Dakota writes in response to a comment you made earlier about doctors and magnesium. He says, my cardiologist prescribed IV magnesium for my heart rhythm problems. It was the first thing he ordered when I had a dangerous V-tach episode, so at least some doctors get it.
That's fantastic. Very good.
Very good.
And then the next thing they should do is send you home with a prescription of Remag so that you can, can continue on. Because, they will do that. They'll do that in the hospital. And people do tell me, yes, I had an IV mag in the hospital, and then they didn't send me home on any magnesium or tell me to follow up. Or if they do the occasional time, they'll tell the person to take magnesium oxide, which will just cause them to have diarrhea before it does much good at all.
Oh, very good. Yep, very good. Also, Maureen in Florida types in Carolyn and says, please explain why your Pico Magnesium Remag is better than any regular Remag we can buy anywhere. I asked a friend to tune in for the first time tonight. Thank you.
Well, it's better than any magnesium. It's the highest potency, and it's I have an exclusive on this. It's 60,000 parts per million. When I had to take angstrom magnesium, which is another form of liquid magnesium, the highest they would go was 9,000 parts per million. So this is 60,000 parts per million. It is broken down into picometer size, which is very tiny. It's like, oh gosh, is it a trillionth of a meter? I'll have to look it up. It's all explained in the Remag book. So it's a very tiny size, but what the manufacturer says the most important aspect is that it's a stabilized ion. Minerals come bound to something else, like our magnesium is bound to chloride, so it comes from a magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride is not going to get into a cell. Magnesium ions are. And what the body does is it will absorb an ion when the ion becomes available in a flash of a second in a liquid medium, say in your bloodstream. The magnesium chloride will break down into a magnesium ion and a chloride ion, and that magnesium will jump into a cell. But a second later, it'll bind back up to either the chloride or bind up to fluoride in your drinking water or some other mineral. So what you're hoping for is to get the ion at the cell receptor level and have it absorbed. So what the manufacturer has done to the Remag is stabilize the magnesium in its magnesium ion form that makes it absorbed. And the way we know it works is, there are a couple of ways. Under an electron microscope, you can't see any mineral when this process is done. It's invisible. Therefore, it's tiny, 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 can't even be seen under a high-powered electron microscope. And then the second is just the clinical results. I get involved personally because I get the laxative effect from any magnesium, even the best magnesiums. I can't take enough for my heart palpitations and leg cramps without getting diarrhea, which means then I lose weight and I lose magnesium. So I've been after magnesium companies for about 10 years to make something that had no laxative effect. And well, they were interested for a while, but it's something you have to educate people about. It seemingly is expensive because if you can go into a drugstore and get a $10 bottle of magnesium, you think you've got a bargain. But what you mainly have is a magnesium oxide that's 4% absorbed that causes a laxative effect. And what you have with Remag is something that's 100% absorbed. So if you do the math on that, if you take magnesium oxide of 300 milligrams and it's 4% absorbed, you're getting 12 milligrams of magnesium. And the rest is going into your intestines and causing diarrhea. If you take 300 milligrams of Remag, which is 1 teaspoon, you're getting 300 milligrams of magnesium into your cells. And when the magnesium goes into your cells so readily, it starts kicking out heavy metals and chemicals and all the toxins that your cell does not want to be bothered with. And that's where people will tell us, well, I'm sensitive to your Remag, it causes me to detox, or it stirs me up too much. Well, that's because it's working.
Hey, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Jerry posted on the chat room a question that Ginny answered, but I just want to look at it this way. He says, are there any additional supplements you recommend people take beyond Remag, Remite, Realign, and RNA drops? For example, coenzyme Q10, milk thistle, vitamin D3, and or omega-3s. Don't we say forget everything else with our stuff?
Well, we do say forget everything else, especially forget vitamin D in high dose. Actually, I cover that under a blog called Dr. Dean Supplement Recommendations. Everything laid out step by step. It's laid out in my Remag book, so you can find out what I take and what my recommendations are. And you don't really need much more than the complement formulas.
Because we're changing people's cells. Coenzyme Q10, milk thistle, vitamin D, they don't do that, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, no. And it's a huge topic, and I've covered it on my blog, so that's where people can go for that answer. And I've answered that question many times, that of course we're going to have new listeners, and Jerry probably hasn't heard that, but that's the answer. But we were in the middle of me talking about something else. What was that, Ginny? What Maureen was asking? It's so long ago now, I forget.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to know what Maureen was asking?
Yeah, did I finish
about why you said it all perfectly, why the Remag is the best.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you said that all perfectly. Yeah, and that is what I did tell Jerry, to just email support at RNA Reset, and I would send him the link to that blog, which is Dr. Dean's Supplement Recommendation. So that is what I asked him to do. And anybody can, if you have questions after you hear the archive, you can always email support at rnareset.com, and I will get you the resources that we talk about during the show, if they're not on the blog itself, which they might be. Okay.
Yeah, but I'd like to reiterate, this is what this show is about. We have an amazing announcement. We have moved everything to a new level. And Carolyn, with her expertise and about with old answers, which she's very good at in dealing with people and their different needs, I like to reemphasize, no, we are doing something incredibly new, and these fantastic results are coming from these products. Right, Carol? That's what this show is really about.
That's right, and we've talked in the past, and certainly I've complained that people will come to me on hundreds of different supplements, and that's, Bob's reminded of that all these hundreds of supplements. You see, if you're on a bunch of the well-advertised supplements and you're still not feeling well, then it means they're not helping, or they're not working. But you will find on that blog, the supplement recommendation blog, that I do talk about vitamin C, and either you make it yourself, you make liposomal vitamin C, or you get Grown by Nature vitamin C, and there is a fermented cod liver oil product which has vitamin D and vitamin K2, but Ginny just sent me an email. There's some research on that one now. So things go through their on and off stages, and we bob and weave with that, but I don't think there's ever going to be any concern about our Remag, Remite, Realign, and RNA drops. They're always going to be here for you, and in the appropriate doses as shown on the label, and with the testimonials to back them up.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. The RNA drops are the foundational formula to the complement products, and that's kind of how one of the things that we talked about through our whole customer process and everything was RNA reset. And people would say, I don't understand the name. And it was describing that we do something that nobody else does, and that's reset the body through the RNA drops, talking with RNA and chromosome 14. So Bob is right to bring that up. I mean, that is at the foundation, but all those products are gone into in great detail, too, on that supplement page, Carolyn.
That's right. That's the foundational product. So we're trying to make life easy for you, and it was never my intention to sell products. I mean, I could have been selling products 45 years ago, because that's sort of where doctors go when they sort of get an audience, but that wasn't my intent until we came across ION and the RNA drops, and I really wanted to get a good magnesium going. So it's pretty serendipitous what's happened, and I'm totally gung-ho. I'm like a total salesman of my products now, because I can't believe how much they're helping people. I mean, the testimonials that we get every day are just outstanding.
One of the persons writes in, Carolyn, and says, if I take all the RNA reset, it'll cost me over $200 a month. How do you expect people to afford that every month? Could you not do a more monthly reasonable amount? I would love to keep it all up, but I just can't afford it all.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that people feel they don't have the money for their health, and part of it is you're probably spending $1,000 a month on health insurance. For what?
Right.
$1,000 a month on health insurance. For what? To go into a primary care doctor who's going to sit across the room from you, not touch you, not ask you to take off your clothes. You're going to, you'll have your blood pressure checked in the hallway. You'll have your weight checked with your shoes on. I mean, it's outrageous what you're putting up with, spending $1,000 a month on health insurance that just gives you drugs that makes you sicker, and then complaining because something's going to cost you $200 a month to stay well. And what we do say about the RNA drops, if you can't afford the normal size or the Reebok size, get the sample size, $15, and take 2 drops a day or 3 drops a day. It'll last you a month or a month and a half, and you'll get the benefit of some of the RNA drops, which is enough for most people. It'll make you healthier, make you feel better, have more energy, and you'll make more money, and then you can buy a full bottle. So now I become your financial counselor. And if you look at what else is going on, I mean, what crazy people are out there spending $5 a swipe on a Starbucks coffee, and then complaining that they have to spend $30 a month on their Remag. So, no, I just don't buy it. I do not buy it that these products are expensive. You have no idea the cost of the drugs that people are taking these days. And it's kept a hidden secret because you're paying through the nose for your insurance. Doctors haven't got a clue how much money they're or costs they're racking up with all their tests. You get someone, I mean, when I write this story about the drugs causing neuropathy, I mean, this woman probably had $1 million worth of testing and hospitalizations to cover up the fact that she has a magnesium deficiency. And not once did they test her magnesium. That's what you should be complaining about. So
absolutely. Very good, very good, very good. Awesome rant, Carolyn. Way to take it on. Excellent. Okay, let's go to some more questions. Angela in Illinois wants to, let me do this follow-up question first. This is from the remineralize.org. If I follow remineralize.org and remineralize my soil, because I have lots of space for farming and gardening, then that is going to remineralize my soil enough so I have all the minerals and nutrients I require without any other supplementation.
How do I know that? You've got my dander up, people. How on earth am I supposed to answer a question like that? Seriously.
Very good. Yeah, seriously. I think that's pretty like some kind of a throwdown. That wasn't the point, Linda. The point was just to share where the resources are if you're interested in learning more about it or supporting their efforts. And yes, we would still say that you need minerals and nutrients through supplementation, because you do not have a measurement or a way of understanding thoroughly what's coming out of your food. But you can absolutely make your own choice, because that's what we say, follow your own knowing and follow your own preference. So if you don't prefer to supplement, you obviously don't have to, absolutely. Now, let's see. Angela in Illinois says, Carolyn, is it safe to take Remag while on a blood thinner such as warfarin?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we look at the magnesium and Remag as it were food. So as long as they're telling you that you can eat food, you can take Remag magnesium. I think I've said that magnesium can act as a blood thinner, and that's probably not a totally accurate statement. It makes people think that it's a blood thinner like warfarin. What it does is it just keeps your calcium from clotting your blood. Calcium is a big blood clotter, so when people have a lot of calcium and they're dehydrated, their blood clots easier. And you're not really made aware of that. And what magnesium and hydration do for a person is just make their blood normal. Not so much make it thin. They make your blood normal. Let's go for that word.
Right. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Phone lines are open at 602-666-6027. Carolyn, you know what I think, too? I meant to tell you this earlier. I think this is our third anniversary. This is our third year of doing this show today.
Oh, my gosh.
We started the last in August of 2012.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, no wonder I'm getting a head of steam going here. Been saying the same things for 3 years and, really begging people to use their own minds about things. Use your common sense about things. I'm not here to pat you on the head and tell you what to do, except to take the supplements, complete formulas.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Carolyn. Yeah, that's pretty good. 3 years. It's such an extraordinary. And one thing that's been happening a lot lately too is I've been getting all these emails through customer service. We got a great one this morning, and she said they're going through and listening to the archives. They're at Achieve Radio. Carolyn's archive plays 24 hours a day in Studio D. You can listen to it all the time. And this is one of the things that we suggest people do is listen to the 24-hour stream. If they're feeling bummed out and they think that there's no hope or they're not feeling great or whatever, it's like, well, tune that in and just, you only have to listen for a half hour or so and you already feel better, in my humble opinion. So anyway, people have been writing saying, I've been listening to Carolyn's archives. I'm addicted. We've laid out so much incredible information, Carolyn, over the last 3 years. I mean, it is really just, it's a great reservoir, repository of wisdom, as well.
No one's ever heard, the great physician in operation, like she's sitting at her office in a practice and dealing with patients. You're eavesdropping on one of the best authorities in so much in the medical world. That's the uniqueness of the show.
Yeah, it's a repository, a reservoir. It's a sinkhole of information.
It's better than any med school. It is better than any med school. And unfortunately, the chip body doesn't allow doctors to be a good doctor like you're a model of. They can't be that anymore. They're just jerks.
What I want to do now, Ginny, is do the mailbag. I don't trust myself. I'll probably yell at somebody if they ask me something.
I'll do it for you. Let me yell.
So I'm going to do the mailbag now, Ginny, okay?
Okay, one of the things that one of our folks did type in and say, us newcomers have underactive thyroids that have starved our little brains so long, we need to ask the same questions over and over. That was a cute response.
and the answer would be read my Remite book over and over because it has a great section in there on thyroid and adrenal and how we're treating it. So just read the book over and over. And yeah, I get it. I understand. And there's also people have yeast overgrowth, and the yeast toxins makes your brain fuzzy. All that acetaldehyde. I get it. But I'm not going to take calls. I'm going to do the mailbag. And
Sounds awesome.
That's my, what is it?
It's your party?
Yeah, it's my party. It's my 3rd anniversary party, so that's what I'm going to do.
That's right. All right.
Okay. I had a note about the pregnancy blog. Remember last week I said nobody commented on the pregnancy blog. What's going on? And so someone was moved to answer me, and she said, moved to respond to this blog when I first received it but didn't take the time. After hearing your words on last night's show about how nobody responded and people don't think much about drug consumption during pregnancy anymore, I wanted to kick myself for not having done so. I could have had the distinction of being the one lone response. Turns out she was and still is the one lone response. What I wanted to say is that when I trained as a nurse midwife, 1977-78, we were taught, as you were, to never, ever give a vaccine to a pregnant woman. And you did not give any drug unless the need was urgent and the benefit far outweighed the risks. I've been so shocked and have told this to many people to learn that they are now pushing vaccines on pregnant women, beginning with the flu shot. And I think now that they're recommending a whole schedule for pregnancy, total insanity. I mention this to any pregnant woman I speak to. A lot of them say, oh, yeah, my doctor made me get a flu shot. Their doctor made them get it as if they have no choice in their own body. I spoke to one of my patients at the drug rehab who was pregnant, and when I mentioned the mercury in the flu vaccine, she became outraged that her doctor had told her to stop eating tuna fish because of the mercury, yet he never mentioned the mercury which would be injected into her if she took a flu shot. Sidebar here. Doctors don't even know what are in these drugs. They don't know there's mercury in vaccines. They don't know that there's fluoride in their medications. And continuing on, I remember that in 2009, the swine flu vaccine caused about a 100-fold increase in spontaneous abortion. When did the public ever hear about that? And lastly, when I was practicing as a, CNM, certified nutritional something maybe, the protocol for Hep B was that the woman was tested prenatally, and if found to be positive, the baby would get a shot of immunoglobulin after birth. Now they give the Hep B vaccine to all newborns. This is really allopathetic. I agree with you that our society has come to a place where pharmaceutical drugs are just part of our sick lifestyle, and pregnancy is no different. I think it's about education. Pregnant women used to have the fear of God put into them about smoking, drinking, or taking even over-the-counter meds while pregnant. I don't think that it's that way anymore in the mainstream OBGYN world. It's just the fringe health nuts that are aware. I know that pregnant women and new mothers still obsess over the health and safety of their baby, endlessly researching cribs, car seats, baby monitors, but when it comes to vaccinating their children, they just trust their doctors. And the pediatricians are God anyway, so they know what's best. So she just goes on, my 2 stepdaughters-in-law, when they were pregnant, she spoke to them about vaccines and supplements. They basically said that they had other things to worry about, and they trusted their doctors to give them accurate information. And she just said if they were my own children, I would have gotten more aggressive, but she couldn't with her daughters-in-law. And after I got that great email, I found an article, another Medscape article. I get a lot of my good ranting from Medscape. Oh, this is a Reuters. And it's the title is Doctors Should Do More to Encourage Flu Shots During Pregnancy. This is a new study that's come out where they're pushing flu shots. So, we're up against this is a battle.
Okay, Carolyn, that's where I come in. For the people who are mad and want to have a real revolution, join me on Tuesdays on the What Youth. and we're especially targeting to the next generations because you guys, if you don't get with us, you're over, you're gone, and many new reasons why coming. But the young people, these fake young people who think they're young, they need to be organized. So I'm the new Castro, Mao Zedong, Hitler, Stalin, Gorbachev, George Washington that we require. So come and join me and my little bride, Connie, on Tuesdays on Achieve Radio and be part of a revolution, a serious revolution that doesn't look terroristic. Very skillful how you do this.
Thank you, Bob. And what time is it on Tuesday?
I don't know as a details. I don't deal with those details. No, it's actually Eastern Standard Time. It's about 8 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, it's 3 p.m. our time, 6 p.m.
9 o'clock. 9 at night. Yeah.
9 Eastern.
So join Carolyn to hear a different kind of Dr. Dean on that show.
I usually don't talk, but anyway, we'll be there. Thank you, Bob. Yes, there needs to be a revolution, even it's just to have some fun and know that you're taking your complement formulas and you're perfectly healthy. And I don't usually get too worked up about all this, because you can only take care of yourself. But yeah, there's this what I call commercialization of disease that's going on. That's just going to be the title of another blog probably. And I created that title when a blog reader wrote that it certainly seems that modern medicine is much more of a belief system than a science. The belief system sees only what it believes and filters out the rest. Less people are worshiping at the Church of Medicine these days, though, and the doctors are finding that their pills aren't working the way they used to. Of course, the negative diagnoses and warnings doctors routinely dispense probably cause more diseases than are cured. But fortunately, the doctor of the future is here, and that's me. I had a great question by someone who said that they just read a book called The Calcium Factor. So someone's come along and trying to promote calcium. Now, it's possibly because he's selling a coral calcium, but the person says, "Hey, Dr. Dean, have you ever read The Calcium Factor? I just finished it, and it's extremely convincing in favor of taking high doses of calcium and vitamin D along with other minerals, but favoring high calcium. Every time I take it, my wife takes it, he says, but every time I take it, I feel a little low in my mood. The book explains it all very scientifically, so I don't see how anyone can argue against it, but I feel the way I feel with it. What do you say?" And I said, with the state of research the way it is today, I could take the same studies that the Calcium Factor uses and draw the opposite conclusions. Like you say, you have to go by how you feel. In the beginning, calcium and vitamin D can stir up enough magnesium in the body as it tries to counteract the calcium, and a person feels better because of the magnesium. And it's only in the long term that you see the side effects and have no way of knowing what is causing them. I was lucky because when my magnesium deficient patients started telling me what calcium and vitamin D did to them, I realized that high-dose calcium and high-dose vitamin D were negatively affecting magnesium. I also have my own experience of feeling my heart palpitations every time I eat 2 cups of yogurt because it gives me too much calcium. So we've got a calcium backlash now where this person promoting his coral calcium is trying to make the case that calcium is good for you, and a lot of people are going to believe him, and they're going to start taking calcium. And, when you think of the calcium research, it took about, 40 years of high-dose calcium prescribing in America before someone finally did a half-dozen studies and showed that women who take calcium supplements are at higher risk for heart disease because the calcium they take is so poorly absorbed, and a lot of it goes into precipitating in tissues. It causes constipation, so it backs up in the body and causes a lot of symptoms. So like this reader says to me, when I take it, I don't feel good, and that's all you need to know. The next, let me ask you if you have any comments. I shouldn't just barrel on here. Any comments, Ginny?
You know, I keep the phone on mute, but I'm sitting here going, yes, that's very good. I'm all in it. Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Love the article.
Great.
The bomb too. Very good. Yep.
Yeah. Next one. This woman says, I'm curious to know if there are any specific diagnostic tests to determine whether your products and your approach may help me. I answer, I have not found testing necessary because all the current research on food and soil shows that we are woefully deficient in minerals. And the minerals people take are only 4 to 20% absorbed. Thus, the 100% absorption of REMAG might immediately make people feel better as they are finally getting the building blocks they require. And then she continues that she's uber sensitive to environmental toxicity, agrochemicals, and dust particulates. She lives in Maui in North Kihei, and she said now mold allergens. She's moved up country in an older ground floor apartment. Please direct me to whatever information can help me assess my symptoms, address my underlying causes. My whole system is hyperactivated, especially bronchioles and sinuses, but it feels like a deep cellular autoimmune reaction. So I tell her to read the REMAG and REMITE books, and that REMAG will help dump toxins out of the cells. And if you want something on the cellular level, take the minerals that work on the cellular level. Do them slowly, put them in a liter of sea salted water, sip through the day. And, I'm repeating what I even said earlier in this show, and I say just about every show. Even a drop of REMAG at 2.5 milligrams is going to start the body's magnesium systems. With the mold, I tell her, as you probably know, yeast detox is important, and magnesium is needed to help detoxify the acetaldehyde produced by yeast. Yeast is usually why the bronchioles and the sinuses are affected. And I've done blogs on sinus infections. Often it's sinus infections and clogging that starts people on their antibiotic tract and then gives them yeast overgrowth because of all the antibiotics. So you can either get my Future Health Now encyclopedia and read the sections on infections and sinusitis to find out how to take care of those problems. Here's a gentleman who says, I've been taking REMAG now for around a month and feeling great. I also added a lot of exercise. What a world of difference between the two regarding my anxiety and sleep. Just curious. Today I happen to have a very high-stress day, and after feeling noticeably anxious all day, really reacting to the stress, I just realized that I did forget to take my REMAG for the first time in weeks, which I usually take every morning. So I'm wondering, can your body really miss the magnesium in one day, or is that all in my head? I say no, not in your head. And 1 month isn't long enough to build up your body stores and have a reserve. And it's something we need to eat or take every day, the REMAG. And also, hopefully, I told them to put it in water, sip it through the day, not just take it as a shot, because you can utilize most of it maybe in your cells, but you're going to lose some of it that way. Better just sip it through the day. One more question. My anxiety is much, much better, but not 100%. My GP wanted to put me on Paxil, which I was too afraid to do, so I refused. I said, good, because only a month is not long enough to cure you of a long-term magnesium deficiency. And I went on that the amount is important, too. Some people need 2 and 3 teaspoons a day for therapeutic results. Here's what I do say. Put in a liter of sea salted water, read the REMAG and REMITE books. then he goes on. He did prescribe low-dose Valium for sleep. I mean, they're so keen to give these prescriptions. I'm sure the gentleman went in and said, I'm feeling much better on on magnesium. It's quite amazing. I do still have some anxiety. Oh, take this pill. Not, well, continue on your magnesium. Maybe it'll continue to work and build more and more. No, it's take this pill. They have to feel they're doing something. So he gave them Valium for sleep, which I avoid taking, thank goodness. But I'm finding that I do need 2.5 milligrams once every 3 to 4 days. It's pretty low dose, but I'm understandably afraid of any benzos. Yeah, they're totally addictive.
What about melatonin?
Yeah, good point. I don't think I told him that. Yeah, melatonin, magnesium and melatonin are where to go. And the benzos, you look up some of these benzo addiction forums, and people are just beside themselves because they can't get off these benzos. And when you look at the product insert, you will see they say this is not to be used for long term. It's for short-term use only, and they define short-term as 2 weeks. So people are on them for years, decades.
Hey, Carolyn, this Lisa, the one who complained about the $200 for all the products, she points out after we commented, I'm forced to pay whatever the Obamacare thing is. By law, I must pay that. She says, I don't even use it. Would you support the Republicans if they could, I don't know if they're really going to do it, but they want to dismantle Obamacare? Would you support that?
Well, the thing is, it's about health insurance itself, that we've somehow signed on to this whole system that we can't have socialized medicine, and even then we'd be taxed for that. But it's the whole system that we have to be fighting. Yeah, I'm forced. I never had health insurance before, and we've got health insurance recently. That's why I know the cost of it. But yeah, fight the system.
What did you just say? You said we couldn't have socialized medicine.
Canada has socialized medicine, but they pay much higher taxes for the socialized medicine.
So Obamacare is socialized medicine?
That's kind of what it's tending to be, forced.
And it's creating a problem as people get more and more educated in the way you'd like them to be. They're being forced to do something they don't want to use.
Absolutely.
Another reason to have revolution. But would the Republicans do it? I don't know if...
No. The Republicans are right in the pockets of the drug companies themselves. They promote the drug companies. All their lobbying money comes from drug companies. So it's hopeless.
You need to, your chemical body needs to drop out a lot of the stuff that's being forced on you. You can engage the chip body and other bodies, but the chemical body issue is, as much as possible, drop out of the medical scene.
Yeah. And for some people it became better. People who are stuck on their 20 drugs a day and want someone to pay for them, yeah, they're happy. But, they don't realize that they're slowly being poisoned. Some people need medications. The person who contacted me said, well, I have Lyme disease. I need antibiotics every day. I can't stop them. And I said, take what you have to take.
But you can take our stuff along with that.
Exactly. Right. So anyway, let me just, I want to finish at least this one up. But thanks, Bob. That's good introduction. He did prescribe low-dose Valium. Do you think I can get rid of that last bit of anxiety, which only seems to happen at night, by just increasing Remag? And he says, I usually take 3 capsules a day. Again, I said, it's only been a month. You have to sip it through the day and drink your salted water, and you'll do much better. And then he finishes by saying, thank you for writing your Magnesium Miracle book. I see countless patients every day at the hospital, and it really breaks my heart that medication hardly works and patients get worse from all the side effects. I speak highly about you and let people know to do their own research for their health. Thank you again and again from the bottom of my heart. So great to know you through reading your newsletters over the years. So that was very sweet that, he's been reading reading my blogs for years, and he's only been on Remag for a month for horrible symptoms he's been having. I mean, yeah, no comment. One more before the top of the hour. I recently purchased Remag, began using it in small dosage, a quarter teaspoon for 2 days, then added a second quarter. My question is, this is a very small dose in total, so I was surprised that after a few days my forearms became itchy, formed a rash. Is this a normal reaction for such a small dose? I want to work up to a more therapeutic dose, but I'm concerned. I would appreciate your comments, whether my experience is typical. Can't say typical, really, but we definitely hear about it. And the rashes, I think they come from people who have yeast overgrowth, and the Remag is getting into the cells and dumping. And people think, it's only a quarter, it's only half teaspoon, it's a small dose. Well, it's not really small dose when you think you're getting 150 milligrams from a half a teaspoon, and a normal magnesium dose to get 150 milligrams, you'd have to, what you have to do, take about 2,000 milligrams of any other magnesium. So it's enough of a dose to start detox. And when you get a reaction like that, you just cut back a bit and realize, hey, it's working. My body is starting to dump stuff. We're coming up to the hour. What do you think, Ginny? Do you have any famous last words?
You got congratulations on your 3 years of doing this show. So there were those comments, and also I think that Kevin in Kansas wanted to know what you think about aquaponics. So I wanted to get that in really quickly.
Aquaponics, growing food in water. Yeah, what I would do is do aquaponics and grow them in Remag and Remite. Then you would have food with minerals.
Oh, very good. That's good. Yeah, because I said, what's aquaponics? And he said something about fish in water doing something, creating fertilizer. I'm like, is that just fish pooping in water? Yeah, I think Remag and Remite.
Oh, I know what that is. Hang on, Bob. Yeah, aquaponics. We went up and saw our farm, the biodynamic organic farmer, and that's what he does. He has this pond, and he has a bunch of tilapia fish in there, and they poop all over, and then he pulls the plants from the pond, and the plants have all the fertilizer, and then he spreads those over the ground.
But we're going to add RNA drops to the water, which will be incredible.
Incredible.
Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Look out, folks.
Yay!
Another revolution brought to you by Bob.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bill. Good night.
In the rabbit hole. 3 years in the rabbit hole.
AchieveRadio.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.